some time ago, a guy that lives in a state that looks like a giant oven mitt decided to start his own podcast. He's cooler than you. His favorite pizza topping is pineapple because he knows it makes you angry. This is CuJo's Corner. Hey everyone, Justin Crumley back again with another edition of CuJo's Corner. This is the 33rd installment. Had a hell of a weekend. Gonna tell you guys all about it. We're gonna talk some Michigan football. We're gonna talk mostly about what they did to Penn State because I feel that's their best win of the season so far. Also, probably their most important. We'll get into it. The next thing, we're also going to talk a little bit of New England Patriots. Their last three games against Green Bay, Detroit, and Cleveland. Maybe a possible quarterback controversy brewing in New England. After that, we're going to talk a little bit about. I'm gonna try to sell you guys on something I think the Detroit Tigers should do in this offseason. I know you get some of you may be shocked, others might not. I think hear me out. We'll get to it. And the last thing, I'm gonna ask the Lions fans out there a question about Dan Campbell. We'll get to it. So, anyway, guys. Before we get started, I'd like to ask each and every one of you listening out there, how are you doing on this fine, whenever the hell you're listening to this or watching, whatever. How you doing at this moment that you are listening to the sound of my voice? I'm doing pretty damn good. Before we get started, I want to quickly mention the Detroit Red Wings. They're off to a pretty good start. They did just lose to the LA Kings, but it was in overtime, so they get a point out of it. They are 2-0-1 as of right now. It's very early in the season, obviously, so I don't want to get too carried away with that. But thought I would just give them a mention before we got into the installment today, into the show. And anyway, with all that said, let's not waste any more time. Let's talk some Michigan football. Oh boy, I have waited a long time to say this, but I feel pretty damn good about where Michigan football is at right now. What I saw this past Saturday against Penn State was nothing short of amazing. I'm sure we're all familiar by now. They won 41-17. Guys, listen. I can't say enough how important this win was. This was our first ranked opponent, and Maryland's offense was really good, and Iowa's defense was really good. Michigan seemed to kind of take care of business there. This was our first ranked opponent, and Penn State coming into this game was no slouch. This is a team that had the number 5 rushing defense as far as like rushing yards. They had only given up 3 rushing touchdowns in 5 games. They were number 10 in the nation. They went into Auburn and beat them pretty damn good. This was a big game. This was going to be Michigan's biggest test yet. And to say they passed would be an understatement. Now, if I do have a nitpick, I would say J.J. McCarthy didn't have the greatest game. I mean, he had that ugly pick 6. There was... I was a Cade McNamara guy. J.J. McCarthy didn't have the greatest game here. I don't know how many rushing yards he had off the top of my head. But, yeah, while we're talking about J.J. McCarthy here, I just did not think so far to this point. J.J. McCarthy's been good, but he hasn't really shown. He hasn't shown me anyway that he can be like great. Now, great meaning like Bryce Young, or like C.J. Stroud or something, like a guy that can kind of take the game into his hands. Um, and again, it's not to say that he hasn't had like good moments and good flashes to this point. That's the word here. McCarthy has been good, but not, in my opinion, like great. Um, and this game was kind of an epitome, like kind of an epitome of that. Like he was okay. He didn't screw it up too. He didn't lose us the game. But I mean that ugly pick six was ugly. Um, and I don't remember the play exactly, but there was a throw where he like lobbed it off of his back foot, and it ended up in Corum's hands, but it easily should have been picked. It was such an ugly throw, and even Harbaugh just had this look of disgust on his face. I mean, yeah. So overall, I think JJ has been good, but in this game, he definitely there were definitely mistakes made, and by the time we get to Ohio State, he's definitely got to clean up on some of that stuff. If he's going to truly take that next step and be a truly great quarterback, I want to see more from him, is what I'm saying. Now, that said, let's get to some good stuff. The rushing game. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but Penn State had a damn good rushing defense coming into this game. And as a team, Michigan rushed for over 400 yards. Donovan Edwards had 171 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum had 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. This offensive line just looks amazing. This running game looks absolutely just unstoppable. I mean, and that was really the name of the game here, the run game. Absolutely astonishing performance here from the offensive line, from the run game. As I mentioned, Edwards, 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Corum, 166 and 2 scores. Just absolutely blasted a hole through that Penn State defense. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. This was such an important win. And guys, look, the score was 41-17, but it easily could have been 50 to nothing or 57 to 10 or 3 or whatever. Penn State was really only able to do 2 really good plays. They busted off a couple good plays, and that's pretty much where all their points came from. It was the Sean Clifford when he ran the ball on that sneak, and on the pick six. So yeah, I mean, this game was very lopsided. Michigan looks legit. They look like a potential national championship contender. And honestly, the only thing I can hope at this point is that down the road, when we face Ohio State, we go into Columbus and we beat them. But I have not felt this good about Michigan football in a long time. You guys remember last year I was ready to give up on Harbaugh. I was calling for his job. I was saying he should get fired. And, I mean, man, oh man, ever since then, he's only gone out there and proved me wrong, and I am so damn happy that he has done that. I could not be more happy at all. Yeah. So, despite the importance of this win, and everything I just said, and I feel damn good about Michigan football. I do. I do think it's important that we acknowledge one thing. Still got one more thing to prove. Now, last year was not a fluke. And how do we do that? Well, we go into Columbus and we beat the Buckeyes. And we make the playoffs. Now, it could very well be that maybe we both make the playoffs. If both teams are undefeated going into that game, there could be a chance that both teams make the playoffs, depending on the landscape. I don't want to speculate on who's in, So, got plenty of time between now and then. So we got a bye week this week, and they got Michigan State the week after on the 29th, I believe. Yes, it's the 29th. So, at the beginning of the season, I was kind of worried about that one, but I don't know. This Michigan State team doesn't look too strong, but we'll see. We'll see. I think I'll get more into that in a future installment, next podcast. For now, I just kind of want to end things on a good note. At least this part of the podcast. Michigan won. Big win. It was awesome. Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts, your opinions on the Michigan-Penn State game? I'm going to reach by in here and shut my heater off. Be sure to let me know your thoughts, your opinions on the Michigan-Penn State game below. And with all that said, we're going to move on to the pros. We're going to talk some New England Patriots. So, their last 3 games against Green Bay, Detroit, and Cleveland. Kind of seems like their offense is somewhat starting to wake up. And I'm kind of underselling it. So, I want to talk about these games because these are the games. Well, first off, these are the last 3 games that the Pats have played. Second, these games have created somewhat of a quarterback controversy. So, the game against Green Bay, Brian Hoyer got knocked out with a head injury. And I guess he's done for the year. So, Bailey Zappe has taken his spot for now. And I'll tell you what, guys. Him and Aaron Rodgers, New England, Green Bay, they went to war. New England, I thought for sure New England was going to get destroyed in this game. I mean, they were 10-point dogs going in. I didn't think they would lose by 10. But I guess I shouldn't have said destroyed then. But I thought we were going to lose. We'd probably lose by like a touchdown, maybe 6. I don't know. But I'll be damned. Brian Hoyer got knocked out of the game, and I thought, oh boy, that's it. Again, not that I was like down on Zappe. I just didn't expect Bailey Zappe to come out and play the way he has. He played a damn good game against Green Bay. Now, well, dial it back a little. Maybe not damn good, but he was good. Certainly wasn't the reason they lost. In fact, they went to overtime. Bailey Zappe, a third-string rookie out of West Kentucky, took Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to overtime. They lost, but I couldn't have been more proud at that point. It was huge. And I think it really speaks to Belichick's ability to coach. I really do, but that's a conversation for another time. Moving on to the Detroit game. This one was fun to watch if you're a Pats fan like me. Not so fun to watch if you're a Lions fan. And I'll get more into that later in the podcast. But Bailey Zappe just absolutely destroyed Detroit. Well, actually, not so much Zappe, so much as it was Ramondre Stevenson. Dude had 150 rushing yards, something like that. Just absolutely carved up. Admittedly, the worst defense in the league, but still, I think Detroit. I think the Detroit game, like that's where the offense finally started to kind of click a little. Now, again, it's Detroit. Maybe it's a little bit of an overreaction to say, "Oh, this is where the offense started to click," but something just seemed kind of different. Something. It seemed like things were finally going to start working as far as the offense goes. And now that brings me to Cleveland. So, yeah, yesterday New England just absolutely demolished Cleveland, 38 to 15. Um, another big, I think it was another big game for Ramondre Stevenson. Let me look up his numbers before I make that claim. But I do remember him getting a pretty good amount of rushing attempts in that game. Bailey Zappe had a hell of a game too. He had like 2 touchdowns. Here. Here. Okay, so Zappe was 24 for 34, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stevenson was 19 for 76, but he had 2 touchdowns. And let's see. As far as receiving goes, big day on the receiving corps too. Devontae Parker, Hunter Henry, Jacoby Myers, and Tyquan Thornton. Oh, and Ramondre Stevenson all got 4 catches yesterday against the Browns. They all had 4 catches. Tyquan Thornton actually had a passing touchdown or a receiving touchdown. I'm sorry, and a rushing touchdown on a jet sweep. So yeah. Welcome to the New England Patriots, Tyquan Thornton. I love what I see from that kid already. Oh, hey, look at that. Pierre Strong got into the game. 1 for 5 yards, not too bad. So, yeah, just a very dominating performance in Cleveland, and it's all led to what is possibly a quarterback controversy in New England. So, I read a little bit about this before I jumped on and did this podcast. Apparently, Mac Jones and the New England Patriots relationship is, well, Mac and the Pats aren't really on the best of, maybe not the best of terms. I'm really trying to find the words here. There's some friction between Mac Jones and the Pats, I guess you could say. And again, these are all rumors. You can read about it on Google. I read a little bit about it before I jumped on and did this. So I guess according to Albert Breer, there's some friction between the Patriots and Mac Jones over the change of the offensive scheme. And I guess Mac Jones wasn't too thrilled with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the co-offensive coordinator, not co-offensive coordinators. Actually, Matt Patricia is like the unofficial OC, and I guess Joe Judge is like the quarterback coach. But and I guess he wanted he was thinking like Bill O'Brien was right there for the taking. I don't know if any of this is true. It's all rumors and whatnot, so you can take it for what it's worth. We'll see. We'll see how things go when Mac Jones is back and playing again. I think Mac Jones is going to have to play with some fire because, and I don't mean like literally, obviously. I mean he's going to have to play with some passion here. Because the way Bailey Zappe's been playing, I wouldn't put it past Belichick to start Zappe over Mac Jones if he thinks Bailey Zappe can perform in this offensive scheme better than Mac Jones. So we'll see where it goes. I don't really have a whole lot else to say about it. You guys can go ahead, throw in the comment section your thoughts, your opinions down below. With all that said, we're going to move on to the next topic at hand, which is something I want the Detroit Tigers to do. And you guys may or may not agree with me on this. And look, that's okay if you don't. But at least hear me out before you comment something angry or, tell me to go hop off a 3-story building or whatever. I think one thing the Tigers should do in this offseason is buy Miguel Cabrera out of the final year of his contract. I do. Look, I know Cabrera's a fan favorite. I know, and look, I've met Cabrera. I got an autograph. I got a picture with him. He's a nice guy. I don't know him, but I have met him. Like I said, nice guy. This is nothing personal. But I think the Tigers would be wise to buy him out of. I think this is the last year of his contract. Maybe like a couple other years. I don't know. But whatever the case, buy him out of his contract. I got his numbers pulled up here. So I'm going to go ahead and read those off to you guys. So in 397 at-bats, he had 101 hits, 5 home runs, an average of 254, 43 RBIs, 25 runs, a slugging percentage of 317, an on-base plus slugging of 622, and a wins above replacement of -1. I don't think you have to be a baseball expert to know that. Well, I guess you. No. You can just be a fan of the game like me. You guys know as well as I do. These are not good numbers. Look, again, I'll reiterate. I'm sure Miguel Cabrera is a very nice guy. At one time I met him. He was a nice guy. It's nothing personal. But there is literally zero reason to keep Miguel Cabrera on this team. Other than bringing fans to the stadium, which I don't really think the Tigers should be doing anyway. I think the Tigers' main focus needs to be winning. Needs to be putting something together. And look, I'm not expecting like playoffs next year or anything. To be honest, I don't really have any expectations, but I think the Tigers need to stop worrying so much about like gimmicky little things like well, how are we going to sell tickets? Oh, well, we're not going to be very good. Let's bring Cabrera back to not do so good at the plate. Guys, it's kind of sad. I mean, he's not the player he once was. I just read the numbers. 5 home runs. Oh. Sorry, that was my phone going off in the background. Where was I? Oh, yeah. The numbers weren't great. Watching him play was the only reason. Let's face it, most of the reason we watched him was to watch him get his 3,000th career hit. He finally got it, and that was that. It's kind of all downhill from there. He's not the hitter he used to be. And if the Tigers are going to get serious about winning, they're going to get serious about putting together a team, they need to make moves that are gutsy. And I would say this is kind of a gutsy one. Because, again, not every fan is going to approve of this. I think back on when the Tigers traded Ivan Rodriguez. Now, I was a kid when that happened, but I remember a lot of, I was a kid. But I remember a lot of people complaining about it. This would probably be one of those moves. It would not be popular at first, but for the long term, I think it's for the best. Cabrera's not the player he once was. There's really no point in having him on this roster anymore. So, yeah. I think you buy him out. I think they should buy him out. And that's that. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. You guys go ahead, let me know your thoughts, your opinions down below, what you think about what I just said? Do you think the Tigers should buy out Miguel Cabrera? Do you think they should let him play out the rest of his contract? Maybe you disagree with what I said, and if so, throw it in the comment section below. Let's get a conversation going about this. Whatever you guys think, yeah, you get the gist. Anyway, guys, we're going to move on to our last topic today, which is just a simple question for Lions fans. Where are you guys at with Dan Campbell? I was talking to a buddy of mine sometime last week, and he did not want to talk about the Lions in the Pats game. And, the only thing he said was it's the same problems with the Lions. It's incredibly frustrating. And it kind of made me start to think, where are Lions fans at with Dan Campbell? Because I'll say this, I wouldn't be happy with him to this point. The honeymoon phase is over. Now you got to look at what's been going on this year. Dan Campbell is the king of dumb decision making. Started with Philly, that onside kick in the third quarter. Why? There was literally no point in that at all. And against my Patriots, this is the game I really want to talk about here, because when I said that Dan Campbell's the king of dumb decision making, this game is a perfect example of that. 0 for 6 on fourth down. One of those fourth downs was a 4th and 9. It was, I believe, it was on New England's side of the field. It was at like the 30 or something, the 23, something like that. I don't know. Field goal range. The Lions were in field goal range. It was 4th and 9. They're down 6-0. It's pretty easy. Just send the kicker out there, cut the lead in half, put things in your defense's hand. That's not what Dan Campbell did. Dan Campbell decides to keep the offense out on the field, and they tried to run a play. Matt Judon sacked Jared Goff and stripped the ball. Kyle Duggar proceeded to pick it up and run it back for a scoop and score. So yeah, 0 for 6 on fourth down. And I mean, why are you going for it on fourth down 6 times in a game? One of those instances, you were down by 6. I mean, are you kidding? I'm not a Lions fan. I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're kind of my second team, the secondary team. I want them to succeed. I want Dan Campbell to succeed, but the decision making, and honestly, it's starting to cost the Lions games, I think. Because that play I just told you guys about, when the Pats picked it back up and ran it back for a touchdown, went up 13-0, I believe that was the final dagger in the heart. That was the final nail in the coffin. The Lions, there was just no way. It was only 13-0, but spiritually, you could just tell they were done. They were done. They weren't going to come back. They weren't going to win that game. Not only did they not win, they got blanked 29-0. So, in their next 3 games, they got Dallas, Miami, and Green Bay. I'm not sure if it's in that order exactly, but I do know those are their next 3 opponents. They very well could be staring 1-7 in the face. Now, Miami, supposedly Tua is going to be back. I don't know if that's true or not. If they end up playing the guy that Miami's playing now, I think Detroit they'll be fine. They should be able to beat Miami at that point. And you know what? To be fair, Green Bay looks a little bit off. So maybe there's a chance, but I don't know. With Dan Campbell as the coach, I'm not too confident anymore. You guys have heard from me, though. I want to hear from you. Where are you guys at with Dan Campbell? Lions fans out there, let me know in the comment section below. Where are you at with Dan Campbell? Are you like me? Are you starting to lose your patience with him and you think his dumb decision making is costing them games? And I mean, maybe, not putting it all on Dan Campbell. I want to make that clear. It's a team effort, but Dan Campbell is not helping matters. Let's word it like that. Like, do you think Dan Campbell is not helping at all? Do you think he's actively hurting the team? Or do you disagree? Do you think this whole thing's going to work? Whatever your thoughts are, your opinions, throw them in the comment section below. Let's get a conversation going about this. And with all that said, that's all we have for this installment of CuJo's Corner. So, yep. Be sure to comment down below. Any thoughts, opinions down below. Yeah. Until next time, guys, I'm Justin Crumley. Stay awesome. If you enjoyed this video from CuJo Productions, please consider subscribing, check out my Redbubble page for all my merch, and hit the bell icon so that you're notified for every time I upload a video. As always, stay awesome, guys.